Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video, and I hope everyone is having a great day. I am certainly having a great day myself, and before I get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell. Also consider joining the channel today. Again, folks, these are all great ways to support the daily content, but enough of the promotional stuff. Let's get into it because tomorrow is election day, and we have to look at the pathways Trump has. Now, I want to be clear that this is not an official prediction. This is just the scenarios that could play out tomorrow. We will have a stream later today going over the official prediction. These are just the pathways Trump has. And the easiest pathway Trump has is through Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. In this scenario, no matter what happens in Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, even though the early vote looks good in Arizona and Nevada, let's just say fine. Trump loses both Arizona and Nevada, and on top of that, he loses Wisconsin and Michigan. Well, in this scenario, it would be very close, but Trump would be at 270. He would be at 270 right on the dot. That's enough for him to win. And it looks like the Trump campaign, they realize this because they've been doing a bunch of events in North Carolina, in Georgia, and in Pennsylvania. Now, people are doing about North Carolina, but in reality, it's because that's the easiest pathway for Trump. He just wins Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. In this scenario, he's got it. No matter what happens anywhere else, he's the next president. This is by far the easiest scenario, and quite frankly, we will actually know early on in the night if this map's going to happen because North Carolina, Georgia, they close their polls early. They should count their votes pretty fast. It's one of those things where if Trump is winning Georgia, North Carolina, in this scenario, he just needs Pennsylvania, and well, that's it. He's the next president of the United States. Now, this is the easiest pathway, but is it likely to happen? Maybe not. But there are other scenarios for Trump. The second easiest by far is the Sun Belt, which is Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. And he wins a single Rust Belt state. It doesn't matter which state he wins. Hell, he could actually lose Nevada in this scenario, but let's just say fine. Trump wins Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. The polling looks really good for him in each of these states. The early voting looks real bad for Dems. In this scenario, he needs a single state. It doesn't matter if it's Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania. He wins any of the three, and he's the next president. This is a very easy scenario because it looks like Trump is going to sweep the Sun Belt. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion, but with how bad the early voting looks for Democrats, the polls look really good for Trump. These states should go to Trump. At the bare minimum, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina. And even if you lose Nevada, well, it doesn't really matter because if you win Wisconsin even, you don't need Nevada. You win through these four states. Again, if you win Nevada, it doesn't really matter, but it looks like he's in a good situation there as well. And he can win through Michigan. He can win through Pennsylvania. It doesn't matter. He's got the presidency in this scenario if he wins the Sun Belt and carries one of the Rust Belt states. This, I would argue, is actually very plausible because the polling looks really good for Trump. Early voting looks bad for Democrats. Voter registration looks even better for Republicans. It looks very likely that Trump is probably going to sweep the Sun Belt anyways. Again, it's not a foregone conclusion, but if he wins all four of these states, he just needs one of the three, and that's it. But fine, let's just say that there's a big point miss in the Sun Belt, and Trump loses places like North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada. Let's just say fine. There's some weird polling miss, and Trump only carries Arizona, or hell, even Nevada. Well, let's just say he loses Arizona as well, but he wins Nevada. Is it likely? No. But this is the third pathway Trump has, through the Rust Belt. If he sweeps the Rust Belt and wins one of the Sun Belt states, just one of them, including Nevada, because A tie in the Electoral College is effectively the same as a Trump win because it would go to the House, and the way they do it favors Republicans by a lot. So in this scenario, Trump could win the Rust Belt and win one Sun Belt state, including Nevada, and it would be a 269, 269, and then it would go to the House, and he would win. But even if he doesn't win Nevada, well, he could just win Arizona. He could just win North Carolina. He could just win Georgia. Any of these states would work. Now, of course, it's very unlikely that Trump would lose North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, but then win Georgia. Is that possible? I guess. But with how trends are looking in the Sun Belt, this map is very unlikely, but it's possible because the Rust Belt in the Trump era, especially in presidential years, they dramatically overstate Democrat support every year. When it's a presidential year and Trump's on the ballot, they usually overstate Democrat support. In the Rust Belt, or I should say the Sun Belt, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes they actually overstate Trump support, like in Nevada in 2016, like in Georgia in 2020. It sometimes happens, which is not going to happen for sure, but it does occur sometimes. And it's possible that, hey, maybe the hurricane in North Carolina, it affected Republican areas so much that they actually just don't vote, even though they're actually voting. But either way, it's entirely possible that, hey, maybe Trump is being overstated in Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, but understated in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan. And then at that point, he just needs a single Sunbelt state, which the Sunbelt right now looks very good for Trump. But if we're being honest with ourselves, this is very unlikely because the polls right now are showing such big leads for Trump with the Sun Belt that you're talking about a much bigger miss than 2020 or even 2016. Is it possible? I guess. But I still think at the end of the day, Trump is in a good position to win the Sun Belt. He is in a good position to sweep the Sun Belt states, and that gets him to 268. But what would happen if, say, Harris won Wisconsin, won Michigan, and won Pennsylvania? All right, if she wins these three states, she's at 270. And Trump would need a miracle at this point. And this is where we start to get to the very unlikely scenarios. Like, these maps are so unlikely that I don't think it's really possible. But let's just say Trump is at 268. He just needs a single flip anywhere to win. Now, in this scenario, if the Nebraska GOP had a spine, we would not have to worry about it because, well, it would be 269, which in that scenario, Trump would win. But right now, Trump needs to flip one state. He could do it through New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, New Hampshire. Again, that's not going to happen, but that's the scenario. Like, let's say Trump is doing so good in the Sun Belt, and let's just say they're actually understating his support in the Sun Belt states. Maybe, just maybe, he pulls off the upset in Virginia. Which I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if he wins Virginia, like, let's say he's doing so good in the Sun Belt that it carries over in Virginia, he's going to win. In this scenario, no matter what happens in the Rust Belt, hell, you could actually lose Nevada and still win. In this scenario, Trump wins. Trump is the next president because he's at 275, and even if he loses Nevada, he's got enough electoral votes. All right, this is a very unlikely scenario, but if Trump is doing so much better in the Sun Belt, then maybe he's not doing as good in the Rust Belt for some odd reason. I guess it's possible. Well, this could be the way for Trump to win the election through Virginia and through the Sun Belt. But what would happen if, say, Trump actually loses the Sun Belt, but he wins the Rust Belt? Well, just like the other scenario, he would have to pick off a state that is very unlikely to flip, such as Minnesota, such as New Mexico, which actually New Mexico would not be enough in this scenario. He has to win like Minnesota or Virginia to win in this map. Or he could win through New Hampshire, New Mexico, which is very unlikely, but I guess it's possible. But if he wins the Rust Belt states and loses the Sun Belt, I think his pathway to the presidency is all but dead. But I guess it's entirely possible that maybe something crazy happens in Minnesota where he wins it, which I don't think it's going to happen, but this would probably be the only pathway for Trump in this scenario. If he loses the Sun Belt, even he just has to win one of the Sun Belt states, but if he just loses every single one of them, not even carries Nevada, well, this would be the most likely map for him to win, which is so unlikely that I don't really think it's possible. Again, these are such unlikely maps because you're talking about complete reversal of trends, the polls going all over the place, the voter registration meaning nothing. That's why it's so unlikely, but in this scenario, if he wins the Rust Belt and loses the Sun Belt, he has to win Minnesota. Or somehow win Virginia but lose North Carolina? I have no clue how the hell that would happen. Like, how would you lose North Carolina but win Virginia as a Republican? I guess, you know, maybe something crazy could happen, but at that point, you're just grasping at straws. In this scenario, Trump would probably lose, right? Just the simple fact that if he's losing places like North Carolina and Georgia, I don't really see how he's winning Virginia. But I guess he could win Minnesota if there's a big shift to the right in the Rust Belt in the Midwest, which is entirely possible, but I don't know. At this point, it's just such a bizarre scenario that I don't really think it's even possible, but I guess technically if it's a weird election night, Trump could win through just the Rust Belt, which, yeah, it's possible, but it's very unlikely. Now, of course, there are thousands of different maps you could possibly make. You know, you could technically win through Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, win through Arizona. You could win through Nevada. Again, there's so many different pathways for Trump, but these are the most likely, or at least the main ones. Of course, you could interchange some states here and there, but these are the scenarios that are the most possible, just based off of coalitions, based off of trends, based off of voter registration. Again, it's not everything, but these are the pathways Trump has that, again, you could interchange some states here and there, but these are the most likely pathways for Trump. Now, of course, there are some very wonky ones. I guess you could somehow lose the Rust Belt, win Virginia, win North Carolina, win Georgia, and I guess maybe something crazy happens in, I don't know, New Mexico. Which, again, at this point, this is such a bizarre scenario, but maybe with how bad the New Mexico early vote looks for Dems, maybe it does shift heavy to the right. Not gonna happen, but I guess it's entirely possible. You could have a weird scenario where Trump loses Georgia, and he wins Pennsylvania, then win Nevada. Which, again, if North Carolina and Virginia shift heavy to the right, I guess that's possible, but that's the problem. There's so many scenarios that are technically possible that you can't go over all of them. But these are the main ones that I really believe could happen. Are these my final predictions? No. We will have a stream later today, like I said, at like 6 p.m. Eastern. But just note that there are so many pathways that Trump could have, and it could possibly happen where Trump gets a crazy map like this. Which, it's not going to happen, but it's entirely possible. We'll see what happens not next Tuesday, actually tomorrow, but the fact that we're even talking about states like Virginia, Minnesota, New Mexico, kind of crazy, but that's what some metrics indicate. That doesn't mean they're going to flip. It just means that, hey, maybe something crazy could happen and all the trends of these states magically reverse the last second. At the last second, they all shift Republican, but the Rust Belt, they shift Democrat. That's entirely possible. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Hope everyone tunes in tonight for the final presidential map prediction, live at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I hope everyone tunes in tomorrow night for election night. Godspeed to all of you.